Okay, we're going to get this going. Thank you guys for showing up today. I know it's beautiful outside and everybody want to be out there in this weather, but I hear that it's going to be snow again. It's going to be snow again. All right, be safe out there driving while you're listening, Michelle, okay? So, but if you have any questions, take yourself off mute and ask a question because this is very informal, okay?
Okay.
So, oh, and we got Esther. Okay, let's get Esther in here. Okay, let's meet Miss Esther. Okay, she's new. All righty. Hello, Miss Esther. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice. So how you hear about the webinar?
A friend of mine.
Oh,
Yes,
somebody
she
who's
sent
in
me
the
the information.
classroom?
Huh?
Somebody who's currently in the classroom right now?
Let me
Not
see.
at this moment, but somebody who's in the class that referred you. She probably don't know.
Which class are you referring to? Lashante has referred me.
Okay, yeah, she's in the class. She's
Okay.
LaShante. Yeah, my girl LaShante. I thank her for having you come to the thing. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and get started. So, for Esther who doesn't know me, my name is Ann Austin. I am the CEO and founder of Austin Tech. I do business development and I have been doing business development classes and training for over 10 years for this specific program. However, I have been consulting all throughout DC, Maryland, Virginia for more than 25 years. And my core business is just to really educate individuals about how to become a small business the right way, more deeply than just surface information, right? I am really getting into training folks on the right procedures to understand the right paperwork you need to help you fix existing problems and to just really help you as an individual personally and professionally. So that's what I actually do at Austin Tech. So welcome. You're surrounded by folks who are in the class as well, who are currently taking the class. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar and be able to join us in the future for more. So tonight, guys, we're going to be focused on how do you use public speaking to elevate your business. This topic I decided to do because I believe that, well, it was kind of on my mind for a while. A lot of times I see that as we are venturing into the small business world, that we tend to lack, key fundamental things that actually is part of our brand. And the number one person that is part of the brand is you from the very beginning. So when you are creating your logo and your colors and your message and your personality with your brand, as we talked about on Monday, that you, as the individual first starting this business, meeting with people, being able to talk to them about what it is that you offer, you are the brand from very beginning. And then once your business grows and has a life of its own and it starts to manifest, then your brand will start to become more of elevating you as opposed to you going out there and promoting the brand. So just to simplify that a little bit more, is that when you first start going out there and promoting your business, you are representing the company as the brand and the company. But as your business manifests, and you're starting to get clientele and you're starting to become more busy, your brand, your logo, and your messaging will speak for you before you even come into the room. Okay. But having good speaking skills, you must have that. It is a critical thing you have to have because if you're walking in a room and you're talking to someone and they cannot understand what you say, they don't understand your messaging, you sound confused, they will never tell you, you will not get a call back, you won't be able to land a sale, you won't be able to get gigs, they won't ask you to come speak anywhere. It'll just manifest into a whole bunch of stuff. And what's really unfortunate is that people will never tell you. So, I am going to tell you tonight what you need to do to elevate your speaking skills. And it's not just all about public speaking in the public speaking world, but you're using this platform to help elevate your speaking because I was not trying to be a public speaker. I ended up being a speaker, and it was the best thing that I have ever done in my entire life. It is one of the key things that I've done in my career that helped me prevail and overcome and get over challenges and get opportunities that I never thought that I would ever have in my entire life. So I hope you guys could use this information. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to take yourself off mute. This is very informal. So we're going to get into it tonight. Okay, so upcoming announcements, just to remind everybody that on the 25th of March, we're going to be talking about capability statements. How do you have one? How do you create one? What do you use it for? More than just government contracting. I use my capability statement for a lot. And this is sort of part two. If you attended the How to Create a Marketing Kit or understanding what a marketing kit is, this is sort of like part two of that specific webinar. So if you want to join that one, and I can break it down of how you use it and maybe touch on a little bit of where you would use the capability statements, join me on Wednesday the 25th at 6. Also, hot topic, gonna have Mike on here. We're gonna have a nice little argument debate about 5149. This has been a long time coming about who is really in control of your business when you have somebody who has the controlling factor of the 51 versus somebody who is your partner and have the same rights as you, who is 49%, and you two cannot agree, right? So what does that conversation look like, right? So we're going to have that one, and the registration is going to be opening soon for that. So be on the lookout. Also coming up, we're going to have a recap of a another webinar that I did 2 years ago, which is very, very popular, is how do you respond to RFP proposals? So if you see a solicitation out there, or if you're, trying to apply for something, whether it be a grant or whatever, this is a webinar where I'm actually talking about best practices on how to reply to those type of things. And that is actually in April. So I'm going to have the registration open for that also soon. And then the 10-week small business course, I'm trying to still do a small little a mini small cohort before the summer. I pushed it back to May, so I'm gonna push out another Q&A to see if we have interested parties. If we do, I would love for them to join. And also, ladies, please, if you want to come on out to the women's retreat, we're going to have tons of fun. Right now, you should have received the email with the dates and also an email with alternative dates. And so, if you got that second email asking you if you're available in May, please reply. I'm trying to narrow down the time and a day, and that's going to determine where we're going to have this event. And then I can plan all of the festivities, the food, the fun, the activities. You don't have to be a business owner. This is really being a CEO of your life, okay? A CEO of your life. Come have fun, be yourself. And also, just want to announce too that we were awarded a first small business accelerator grant. So we're going to be doing a marketing, branding, and sales strategy. That is exactly what they want us to do. We're going to have Dr. Leroy McKenzie. It's going to be virtual, and it's going to be 3 days of intense activity on marketing, branding, and sales and lead generation. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss it. It's free for you. We're getting paid from FSC First for this. So as soon as I get the MOU and we start promoting the dates, do not hesitate to attend, okay? Because we're going to be limiting the seating to about 30 people. So make sure you get yourself in that seat. So that's the announcements for today. All righty, cool. Okay, so let's talk about public speaking fundamentals. Okay, so we're going to look at what is public speaking in general, right? What are the type of speakers? We're just going to speak genuinely about that, and what are they really speaking about? Why would you even want to even do public speaking? And I'm going to help you understand that just because we say public speaker doesn't mean that you're somebody out there like Lisa Nichols or one of the John Maxwells and all that kind of stuff. Okay. We're going to talk about primary focus. What is the actual message that you need to perfect when you're actually speaking to people? We're going to look at the audience. I was thinking about doing a short activity, but that's based on how much time we have. And then I'm going to give you some best practices on how to become an effective speaker, just, improving how you speak and how you're articulating certain things. And more importantly, how do you even get a gig just to even get out there and start speaking? So we're going to cover all of that today. Okay, so what is public speaking in general? So, really, in a nutshell, public speaking is really just a type of communication art form, just like music, just like acting, just like any other artistic type of form that allows you to be able to share, inform, persuade, to teach, motivate, to have fun, and communicate with people on all different levels in a universal way. So if you think about how music is, and I love music because I'm a singer. When I was younger, I was a professional singer, tried to do a rec contract, and I lost my voice. And I was like, oh my goodness, I lost my voice because I was singing at a church concert and I learned that my cousin was killed that night. And we were singing Order My Steps. And you know good and well, if you sing Order My Steps, when you just learn that your family member, you get to crying. It was hot in there. And I ended up catching a cold. And from that cold, I developed bronchitis. And I had bronchitis for 3 years. And every time I tried to sing, it would kick off my bronchitis and I couldn't sing for 3 years. But in that disappointment that I had, the Lord put on my heart that I should go out there and start speaking because speaking words to me was no different than articulating lyrics to a music. And so understanding that kind of opened my mind up to what can I do with my voice and my words to articulate my expression or my viewpoints in a way that was relatable to people. And I had to try to identify what type of speaker I really wanted to be, right? So one of the things that I had to do was research what is this speaking thing, because I really wanted to sing, but I couldn't sing, so I had to talk. So I understood that speaking can influence an audience if you're clear, confident, and concise. I really didn't understand clearly what all that meant at the time because when you're talking and you're just generally talking to people, you're not thinking about being clear. You're not thinking about being confident and you definitely are not concise. You're just sort of communicating and you're expecting the other person on the other end to interpret and understand and comprehend what you're saying, right? So that means that you have to be understood and you have to be relatable. And that's kind of difficult if you've never done this before. So you have to kind of understand yourself and how you communicate. So you don't have to be a professional speaker to do this. You don't have to be certified by John Maxwell. You don't have to be a Lisa Nichols or some of these other high power folks, or, you just need to be able to speak professionally where the other person feels confident and can trust what you say, right? So that means understanding who it is you are communicating with. When you guys were in the class, on week one, we talked about your behavior style. So, this is a good tool to use if you want to understand your leadership style. Your leadership style actually sort of influences how you talk to people. To be honest, if you're a dominant person, your tone might come across very firm. If you're a very shy person or you're very stable, you might be sort of like retracted, introverted, things like that. So understanding your behavior along with understanding the other person's behavior will help you understand where you sit in communication. And believe it or not, when you elevate your speaking skills, you also eliminate conflicts. Okay, I meant to put that in here. You literally eliminate conflicts with people because there is no defensiveness between you and the person who you're communicating with. And if they're interpreting what you're saying, they're not going to feel defensive, right? So you definitely want to make sure you understand your audience. And it took me a long time to be able to identify that. Um, Knowing how to tell a story, now that's a little tricky one. I say it's tricky because when people say, "Hey, I want you to tell a story when you speak," it doesn't always necessarily mean tell a story. It just means talk to someone in a way that when you're flowing with the words, that it makes sense and the person can visualize it as well, right? So if they can visualize what you're saying, it'll be easier for them to interpret what you're doing. So that storyline that you're talking about, like as you hear me talking, I'm sort of flowing in a sort of order that you hear me talking in, so that it's more of a logical way of understanding, right? So when somebody says that they can tell a good story, they sort of tell it in a way that keeps you engaged and they want you to have more, but they're not telling you a story that's outlandish or anything like that. It's more interesting than it is a typical story, if that makes sense. So, and we can deep dive into that some more. Having confidence in yourselves and having confidence in the other person, that when they reciprocate their viewpoint to you after you talk to them, that you understand what they're saying and then you offer your expertise to them, right? So that shows good listening skills, good comprehension skills, things like that. And just being able to establish that trust and clarity and credibility, right? That I'm telling you, that goes huge with audience. I have had people come to me and say, Ann, I don't know who you're talking to, but I swear for goodness, you must have been talking to me. You must have been looking at me across this camera, or you must have been looking at me in the middle of all these people and spoke directly to my problem, right? I know that if I talk to you, you will be able to answer my question. And that goes right back to, in a business sense, are you solving a problem with what you're trying to explain to them in your communication, right? So does all that kind of like make sense to you guys? Y'all tracking? Any questions? Any aha moments? You know? Okay.
Yeah, it's an aha moment when you
Okay.
talked about having fun. I was taught as an adjunct instructor and with my job before I retired.
Mm-hmm.
And what stands out for me was when they said, "You're just like how you see a duck in swimming in a lake.
Mm-hmm.
They're smooth and calm, but underneath their little feet are just flipping, flipping, flipping." So I always remember that because I'm always nervous, even though I already know um, what I'm going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always nervous until I get the groove and get people engaged, and then I get more comfortable. So yes, all of what you said
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I have tremendous stage fright, to be honest. I do. That was one of the reasons why I couldn't get a record contract, because my stage fright almost overwhelmed me sometimes. And then by the time I get my confidence, I'm halfway through the song, right? And that's when the engagement happens. But for some reason, when I was younger in my 20s, I could never overcome that. I don't know what the reason was why I had the stage fright. But since doing the podcast for 5 years, I've been able to kind of overcome those things and be able to, kind of come out. Now, I'm still deadly afraid of YouTube. I'm gonna tell you right now. I tried YouTube and y'all saw what happened in my videos. So, but now that I lost weight, I may have a little bit of confidence. I don't know. I might try it again, but I'm still kind of afraid of YouTube a little bit. I don't know why, but I am. Okay, so let's
Well,
talk about. Oh, go
you
ahead.
also grow as you develop as you mature too. So that has a lot to play in it as well from your 20s, 30s and 40s. You've lived life, you've
Absolutely.
experienced things and you grow. Hopefully you grow.
I've been
So,
trying, I have been trying, Yvette, to grow, and I think that I have grown quite a bit. I just think I just need to be more confident in certain areas in my speaking.
mhm,
I was
mhm.
so critical of my voice when I was singing, and when I finally perfected it, I was out there performing and doing all kinds of stuff. So it took me a while, but when I lost my voice, I lost my confidence. And I still, when I sing, I have my voice back, but I'm also afraid of losing my voice too at the same time. Every time I get out there and try to perform, I lose it. So for me, it's a work in progress. And I appreciate,
It's like
your growth.
a
Yeah.
trauma response.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what I appreciate about your comment is that you're reminding me that I can still grow and I can still, move on. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, sure, of course. That's why we're here to help each other.
That's right. To say,
You may say something that triggered me, like you're like, oh, she talking right to me. See,
yeah,
it happens in reverse as well.
that's
Uno, what
right.
is it?
And I
Reverse
love it.
Uno.
I love it. Yes, indeedy. So guys, so this is just a little list. I'm telling you, there are so many different types of speakers, but I put the top ones on here because this is normally where people fall. The first thing everybody recognizes is a motivational speaker, women's motivational speaker, life coach, you name it. They're there to help motivate, energize, encourage you, take action. Those are high energetic speakers. They are like right in your face, stirring up the energy, trying to pull out whatever is getting you upset, and then they're turning it around and giving you motivation to feel your emotions with good times. And that's what a motivational speaker really does. A transformational speaker is somebody who loves to talk about change and transformation of who you are into something better. I sort of love transformational speakers. I actually incorporate a tiny bit of motivation with transformation because I do believe that you can grow over time, you can change your situation. My model of life is it does not have to be this way. You have options. And so that's who I love. I'm a loving leader, transformational speaker type of person, right? And then you have people who actually just do speaking in general. They have books, they have life experiences, they are high influencers. You see them all the time, and then they'll throw out a book, and next thing you know, the people are in line down the hall and around the corner trying to pay for that $50 book simply because they were at the podium talking about some random topic that half the time you don't even know what they're talking about, but you know who they are because they are an influencer. And then you have keynote speakers. I know people right now who make it their 100% job to just be keynote speakers everywhere. And they get paid thousands of dollars to go to events to be the number one speaker. They're not moderating sessions, they're not facilitating class. Their job is to come there, stand there for 15, 20, sometimes 45 minutes, and do a major speech on a specific topic, and then they get paid and then they leave or they stay, right? So that's what they do. I've actually hired a couple keynote speakers for my events, simply because of that expertise of gearing the audience up for what's to come. So when you hire or want to be a keynote speaker, you really need to be able to get that audience prepared for what that event is going to be coming, and you sort of setting them up for success for that whole event. And that's really the difference between somebody who's just standing there motivating or being transformative or just talking about stuff. They're just talking or they're motivating you. But keynote speakers is like the top person. And most of the time, why people buy tickets because of that keynote speaker that's going to be there, right? You have industry speakers like you heard on Monday, where we have Pacific business speakers or any kind of speaker that is in a business and their whole job is to talk about their industry, whatever it is that they're talking about. You will see them on panels, you will see them on TED Talk, you will see them on YouTube. You often see them on LinkedIn, where they'll get online and they will talk about one or two or maybe three specific topics, and that's all they do. They don't go into any other type of speaking. They don't really do books. And if they do books, it's more like a kit where you can download that will drive people to keep hearing about their industry, right? And that's how they kind of get clients and they get consultations simply because they're speaking about a specific industry. Panel speakers are great ways to get started. If you've never spoken before, getting on a panel speaker will put you in the room with a whole bunch of people who are interested to hear what you have to say. Getting on a panel speaker and letting people conversate in a conversation, and then you tap onto that one thing that you're good at and you start speaking, puts you in the position to begin a speaking career or even elevating your speaking. If you just don't want to be a public speaker and you just want to have better speaking skills, you want to get on a panel. That is because you're actually surrounded with people who you can synergize with, right? Certified life coach, these are people who pay thousands of dollars to actually be coached by certified life coaches. People pay as much as 25 to $50,000 to be to be professionally mentored and coached and certified by someone who makes what $20,000 just stepping on a stage, okay? And they have thousands of people. But when they are a certified life coach, they get to use that branding to help elevate their position as a life coach. They're talking about work-life balances, health and wellness, anything that helps you as an individual, spiritually, psychologically, physically, those are life coaches that tend to help you get over life challenges, okay, or anything that is preventing you from moving forward in your life. And then you got people like me who is not only transformational, but I'm a workshop facilitator. I can go into any workshop if I understand what the curriculum is all about, and I can facilitate an entire workshop if, they put me in a room. I can do it with my eyes closed. And it's mostly just knowing the curriculum and being able to guide people through a set of activities and learning objectives where the customer is going to learn something, right? Or I could be a corporate speaker and speak in front of, leadership about giving a brief on a specific topic, or maybe doing a corporate training class or something like that. That is sort of where I sit. So I have like three of these elements and maybe a tiny bit of the motivation. Um, but I've also done keynote speaking as well. I haven't had a lot of keynote speaking, but I've had a lot of the facilitated, the corporate, and the transformation speaking opportunities. So you can mix and match all the time, right? Any questions on types of speakers? Okay, nothing heard. Okay, so to use this in your business, right? You definitely want to brush up on your speaking, okay? If anything else. These are the top 5 reasons why you should. Number one, you have to be able to introduce yourself properly to people. Um, Customers who may or may not buy, you just never know. They may come back years later or maybe a week later, and based on your professionalism and how you're speaking to them, will cause you to, or cause them, I should say, to want to buy. The way you articulate who you are and how valuable you are to them is very important, right? So landing a sale requires you to be able to introduce what you have, especially if you are going for grants, sponsorships, any type of funding situation, introducing yourself over the phone. So I'll give you a perfect example. And I actually attended a webinar last night about how to do grants, and she kind of solidified this also. Okay, so when I kept seeing this company, FSE First, they just kept, not really per se them, but the people who they sponsor were posting a whole bunch of flyers about, you know, what activity that they were given a grant for. And so I went on LinkedIn and I put in a request to speak to someone. When I got the person on the phone, I introduced myself. I did not go immediately into, hey, I want to get a grant or nothing like that. I just introduced who I was, what I do, and asked if there were opportunities in which I can partner or offer my services. And then we began to dialogue as she replied back to me. Something she said that was off topic related to me. And so I began to relate back to her in that conversation. We still didn't even talk about money at all. It was mostly just introducing myself so that she can understand who I am and giving her the opportunity to ask me the related question. And from that question, then she asked me, what is the intent on the partnership? And that was my window of opportunity. And this is where you succinctly say, without getting into a whole bunch of stuff, is my main purpose is to help entrepreneurs, and I would love to see if your organization would like to partner with me in any way to achieve that. I still never said money. She came back to me and she said, we found a grant. You see, so just that simple thing and being able to, stay on topic. What I get sometimes is people will introduce themselves to me, and it starts off great. They will introduce themselves to me, and everything is going good, and then all of a sudden they go right into, I'm looking for partnership and sponsorships. We have a sponsorship package. We have this, we have that, and we're looking to do entrepreneurs, and we're looking to do that, and it always ends up to, how much money can I give them? I haven't even had a chance to even ask a question. I don't even know everything that they're doing. I don't even see no prospectus or nothing, no website, anything. There's nothing relatable that they told me that would give me cause to have a nice relationship conversation with them to say, I want to partner with you, right? So being able to stay on topic when you introduce yourself is important. Okay. Articulating concisely what you earn, what you do was is also what I just talked about, and how. How is very important. We often talk about what we do, but we forget the who and the how, right? How you do it doesn't mean give away your trade secret. How means that you are saying at least one sentence how you are helping them. Austin Tech is helping them through our training classes, webinars, mentoring sessions, and any other service that we can provide that will help them with their business journey. That's it. I'm not getting into deep details of my actual methods. I'm just literally just saying this is what we do. And then give them a chance to ask you a question. And that's how you're going to get the nice back and forth conversation, right? When you do that, it shows you have good communication skills. And it also shows that you're actually comprehending what they're asking you. That's the other thing. If they're not interpreting what you're communicating and they come back and ask you a different question, make sure that you are comprehending their question so that you can like readjust your answer, right? I find that sometimes people will misinterpret what I say, and then they'll say, and then they'll come back to me with a question. And I'll say, well, okay, well, let me clarify this one piece so that I don't confuse you. Take the ownership, okay? And then explain to them what it is that you're trying to convey. Or if you ask them a question and they don't comprehend, then you might have to think about the way in which you're asking the question. Are you adding too many adjectives? Are you adding too many high level words? Sometimes breaking it down in layman's term is so much better than trying to talk real high level and making them feel dumb. Believe it or not, you would think that talking the other way will make them feel dumb, but it doesn't. It actually just kind of comes off clear. But if you kind of make it too high tech, it'll make them feel like, well, they're speaking in a way I really don't understand this technical language, and make them feel a little something, right? So having that good communication skills, you got to have that. Okay, I see somebody popping in. Okay, so displaying your professional persona. Okay, so you heard that Beyonce has her persona when she gets on stage. I forget the name. Anybody know the name? What's the name? I forget the name that Beyonce calls herself when she gets on stage. But
Sasha Fierce.
Sasha,
yes,
Sasha
Sasha
Fierce.
Fierce. That's right, Sasha Fierce.
Yes.
So I have what is called the switch, right? So when I'm in my CEO mindset and I'm about to go talk to somebody, I actually have like this professional persona. It is not a typical like when people say, "Oh, you're just trying to be fake," like somebody say when you're in the office. No, it is actually a professional persona that I have perfected for my brand. Okay. So when I am on, just like I will be on stage singing or doing acting or whatever it is I'm doing, if this is a performance that I have to conduct, that professional persona has got to represent what the message is or what the culture of my business is. So I'm going to turn that switch on and I'm going to be in a position of power and leadership. Okay. Now, I'm saying that not to say that I'm trying to be in control of someone. What I'm saying is that I'm taking the position as someone in leadership. Someone in leadership that they can look at, respect, and know that when I'm talking, that I'm very intent on what I'm saying, and I really believe in what I'm saying, and I'm very confident in what I'm saying without coming off all defensive. The first thing that happens to us Black folks is that they say we're defensive, right? Because we have a specific persona just being who we are, right? But when you have a professional persona, something that you perfect that's only you, that is the aura. I call it an aura, but that's the aura that people feel when they're in the room with you. And when you're talking to them and you're communicating with them, you're putting yourself in a position of power and leadership because you're being confident in who you are, right? Without trying to offend anyone. And people will start just unloading. All of a sudden, they become an open book. Next thing you know, they telling you your life story, their life story. They telling you about their mama, or their cousin or their little dog Pepper. I don't know. They talking about all kinds of stuff, and you can't shut them up because now you didn't put yourself in a way. You positioned yourself in a way that made it very easy for people to open up to you. And that's what you want because when they start talking, you get to hear their pain points, you get to hear their needs, you get to hear what they desire, you get to hear what they don't like, and then you get to determine if this is somebody you want to work with, is this somebody you're going to make a sale with, is this somebody who's going to refer business, is this someone who's not even your customer but they could be a good friend. This helps you identify who your audience is, right? So that's an interesting thing there too. So, and also, believe it or not, when you have good speaking skills, for some reason it's a thing, they think you also have good writing skills because your writing represents your voice. If you go back and read out loud what you wrote, it's going to sound exactly the way you speak now, right? So if you update your speaking, your writing will also be updated as well. Okay, so those are two things that you got to have. There's nothing worse than having a professional persona. You talking all good, you're powerful and all that, and then they get your proposal and you got grammar mistakes, your bullets are not right, formatting's off, the content and the context in which you meant to say something, it doesn't make sense. Your thought processes are not together. You start talking about one thing and then you break off and have a totally different unrelated thought and then you have a bunch of bullets that and none of that makes any sense and they look at it and they're like, what is this? What is this? I mean, she came in here, she was all professional, but I don't understand nothing that's on this proposal. I don't think we can choose her to be a speaker in front of our people. So you have to remember when you're speaking in front of these folks, they're gonna envision you in front of their customers, their network. Okay. They gotta see you actually standing there and talking to them and be happy and excited that you're going to do it. So that persona has got to be on point. So whatever that is, figure out what that persona is for you. Be a Sasha Fish, a Sasha Fierce for yourself. And if I could talk today, I would be even better too. Okay, if I could have my communication on point today. All right, guys, what type of speaker are you? Okay, so storytelling, I'm not really good at storytelling, but there are some people who are really good at telling stories. They love to excite people, or they like to tell stories where it kind of makes you feel timid, right? So do you like to speak in a way that kind of has those attributes? Speaking also invokes emotion. Okay. So that emotion is going to carry throughout the entire time that you're talking, right? From the time you open your mouth to the time that you stop talking, what is that story or that message is going to be like, right? And we talked about some of these already about the industry and scientifical and motivational and all that kind of stuff. But it also comes with your body language. That's another area you need to practice. Some people, like me, I tend to swing in my chair sometimes when I get a little nervous or if I'm thinking too much, I tend to swing in my chair, especially when I'm thinking and contemplating. I'm just constantly swinging. But that's the thing that I'm working on because I just picked this up 2 years ago with the swinging attribute. I don't know where I got the swinging from, but I need to stop it though because it could be distracting. Um, People's character and body language. If you're scrunching your face or your hands are like this, you're instantly defensive. Especially if you're talking to people and your hands up on your arms like this, or maybe up on your hips like this, or you're standing like on one leg or whatever. You're gonna give off some sort of body language, and it's going to give off some sort of emotion. And no matter what you say and how nice you say it, your body language will speak louder than your voice. The other thing, especially women, is that we need to watch our tone. we have tones that is not like loud tone, it is attitude tone. Okay. So, like, if I'm speaking in a way where you better watch your character and your body language. Okay. If I say, if I start talking like that, y'all be like, why she ain't even looking me in my eyes. What's going on? She can't even articulate what she's trying to do. I mean, see, that's tone. Okay. Or how about this kind of tone where people's like, Monica, I really just don't understand what you're saying. Okay, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't know what you're trying to do. Can you help me understand? Now, see, that sounds defensive. That sounds like I'm ready for a fight. It don't matter how nice I said that. Okay. Or I might go to Esther and I might say, Esther, girl, we gotta hurry and get on here real quick. Like, we gotta get out here. We gotta motivate. You gotta be on point. You gotta have spirit, girl. That might intimidate you. Me getting all crazy in front of you and talking loud. Esther may be like, I gotta get away from this woman. She's scaring me. I don't even feel motivated. I feel like she about to jump across this screen and come and get me any second. Shoo. So let me tell y'all, your tone, your body language, I wanted to have some fun with that, but your tone, your body language, your eye contact is really important, right? If you really have to look yourself in the mirror and see how you look. I'm serious. If you're working one day and you're really concentrated, just pick up a mirror and just do like this. Don't even change your whole face. Just pick up a mirror, look at yourself and understand what your face is doing, what your body is doing, how your tone is. And I'm going to give you some tips on how you can do that. But understanding your whole persona will help strengthen your position when you're talking to people. Okay. Now let's talk.
especially
Yes, go ahead.
especially like if you're first thing in the morning and you come in with all the coffee adrenaline. Yeah, don't
If
come
you
at
ain't
me
had
that
no coffee
fast.
and tea, that's right. I'm not right without my green tea. Okay, if I don't have my green tea, I'm not right. Early in the morning, me and my green tea and protein shakes. Okay, I gotta have my vitamins. so, so let's talk about how to be effective speaker. But before that, does anybody have any comments about professional personas? I mean, how many times have you found yourself, feeling like you had to speak a certain way or be a certain way because of a person's personality and you had to be careful, or maybe you're at work or something?
I think for me, it would be more of if you're in front of someone, I'm always conscious of their time and I
Mm,
don't want to waste their time. So like when you gave the example when you started off about um you didn't go blasting what you wanted, you listened to what she had to say. That also sets the pace of the meeting. If this
mhm,
person's like, I'm on limited time, do you just go forward and just say, okay, this is what I'm here for, blah 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 blah,
mhm.
or how do you, I guess, gauge that would be my question.
Yeah, that's kind of tricky. I'm gonna tell you, for me, it really boils down to just intently listening to what they're saying. Take a minute, replay what they said, and then take your emotions out of it and just answer the question. I found that to be the most effective because once I just answer the question and I don't add anything else to it, they tend to come back and ask more questions. And then you're able to see truly what intentions they have behind what it is they're asking. Okay. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just want to answer the question and just leave
Mm-hmm.
it be. And then maybe on your next encounter, you will have that interaction where you can make a determination. It's when
Okay.
people make a determination upon first meet is where it all goes wrong every single time. When they meet you and they're already judging who you are before they get a chance to know you and understand why you're communicating this way or why you're responding this way, is when it goes wrong immediately. And it's almost you can't recover from it. But you as a person have the control. When I have people that do that, and I don't understand who they are, it took me a long time to understand that upon first meeting someone, they could have been in a bad mood, they could have been in some situation and they came at me a certain way. And I have to kind of take the emotion out and come back to them another day and say, hey, we had that conversation, but it just seemed like you didn't have a good day that day. And then they tend to open up to me. And then I get to know who they really are. And then, that kind of helps. But sometimes you just can't. It's a tricky thing. It is very tricky.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Okay, Darlene, question, comment. That was great. Thank you.
Oh, one of the things when you said read
Yeah,
the
thank you.
room, um, when I was working, I had to read the room. I had two things against me. I was a Black female.
Mm,
Well, I was Black and I was a female, and the audience was majority white males and law enforcement.
mm.
So, so
I
I
know
had
how
to.
that's gonna go.
I handled it well because just like you said, Sasha Fierce was
Sasha
Beyonce.
Fierce.
I always had my power suit, and that just and I'm in front of everybody, and everybody's listening to me. Oh, I ruled it.
Well,
So it
good.
does
I'm
help.
glad.
Yes, it does
Yeah,
help.
you
You
do
got to
have
read the
to, you
room.
do, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned about reading the room. Um, some people just come in and they're just able to adapt no matter what the situation is. For me, I tend to do a surveillance for at least 3 months, right? For the 3 months, I am just watching and listening and understanding who these people really are when they're in the office, right? Who they talk to, how they talk to people, what topics that they talk about. Like right now, I have a whole bunch of people in my office. When I first got there, I actually encountered one. Only the ladies were talking to the ladies. And I'm in a military situation, so you guys know how that is. And all the military guys were standing around and talking about God knows what, and cuss words were flying everywhere. And the managers was walking around like it was nothing. And they didn't care if they said anything that offended you. I was like, what in the world did I step into? And after about 3 months, I realized that half the time, well, I would say 90% of the time, they were just trying to have fun in their own little space with whoever they were having fun with. And that was the conversation that they grew together. Didn't have anything to do with Anne, wasn't trying to offend Anne in any way. But once I understood where each person and their level, it was easy to communicate with them. And I'm not saying I'm gonna go over there and start cussing with the guys, but they respected me enough to say if I said, "Hey guys, I'm on a phone call, can you calm it down?" They'll just stop all of that and they'll disperse, and then they'll come back and say, "Hey, Ann, how you doing today?" And then they'll conversate with me. But you do have to read the room and understand where you are, and don't skimp on your principles. Don't try to be something that you're not to appease someone else. Be your authentic self and don't apologize about it. This is who you are. And don't be anything else. Whatever that persona is that you create is because you want to create it for yourself and your sanity when you're going in these places. And it actually will help you in your business as well, because if you are collaborating with other business owners who have personality issues, in your mind, that's personality issues, when that's really truly who they are, you're going to be able to get past the psychological challenges of dealing with these people. You might find that you have to deal with them if you're getting a $50,000 grant or scholarship. You may have to deal with them if they are a partner in your business and they have rights. You may have to deal with them if you have to rely on them on a critical service that you just cannot get around. So, yeah, you have to kind of understand who you are and stay who you are. Don't deviate, don't try to do it. And I love what Novella said. She says she's in construction, heavily white male dominated, and I have to always be mindful. Yeah, I worked in primarily white infrastructure, being the only woman, only black woman IT in a law firm, three law firms, two philanthropic organizations, and one transportation organization where I worked, and I was the only woman, only black woman in IT. And I had to deal with a whole lot, right? So understanding that, if you can survive that, Novella, if you can survive that, okay, Darlene, you can survive anything. Okay, so let's talk about how to be an effective speaker, right? You guys are going to go out there. Let's see how you want to make this happen, right? So my aunt, she was a reverend. She passed away about 6, 7 years ago. She was a reverend with Sweet Union Baptist Church. Prior to that, she worked at the IRS as a speaker and trainer. She was a NAAC awarded motivation and spiritual speaker. She went everywhere. When I tell you that she was making thousands of dollars just stepping in a room and speaking the gospel, that's what she was making. Okay. They will call her on any Saturday, any weekday, any Sunday, and she will often go across the country to speak about the Lord. And I miss my aunt so, so much. But when I asked her about speaking in general, just to talk with her about that, she said this to me. If you want to be a public speaker about anything, doesn't matter what it is, you better have something to say. You got to have something to talk about. You can't just get up there and start thinking that you're going to have a topic and you don't perfect what it is that you're talking about. Most speakers have a specific speech that they perfect and then they branch off and break it up into other little pieces to kind of keep that stability going in their speeches. They don't try to talk about everything. You got to master what is great about what you're going to talk about, right? For me, it's always been entrepreneurship and career development. Okay, that is my thing. I'm not going to talk about anything other than that because that's my specialty. I'll talk about anything related in the scope and sphere of business development and maybe empower thyself because that's the book that I wrote, but that is it. You're not going to catch me just talking about everything. But she said to me that having something to say means that you need to find an audience that wants to hear it. Okay, so you gotta also have the audience to match what you're going to say. So she was fantastic. So that means, which is the second thing she said to me was, you need to be transparent with yourself. You need to understand what your capabilities are, what your knowledge is, and be honest. Be honest about what it is that you truly, truly want to do when it comes to speaking. I believe that everybody needs good speaking skills in general. But if you are going to be using public speaking to help further your business, you must be transparent with yourself, you and other people who you're talking to. That right there, a lot of people are not. People are not forthcoming with the information. If you're going to speak to somebody about stuff, just be open and honest about the information. You find that some speakers, if they just talk a bunch of fluff, they're all up on cloud nine. They're not really telling you much of anything. And then you leave there feeling empty, like, okay, I just heard this person for 20, 30 minutes and it was sounding good, but what did I come away with? What did I learn from it? I'm still trying to figure out how this applies to me, right? Because they weren't transparent with the information and they wasn't honest either. And on top of that, they were trying to be a persona that wasn't really truly themselves. Okay. So knowing your own capabilities is key and sticking within your expertise is even better. So definitely do that. Okay, so these are the three things that I literally just talked about just a second ago, which is when if you're going to go out there and use your speaking to introduce yourself, specifically when you introduce yourself for new opportunities, okay? Because we all do this, that's pretty much the number one thing we do. You need to have an expected outcome. You need to know exactly what you're going in that room to say and what you're planning to walk out of that room with, okay? This is more than just going in there and shaking a few hands and doing a business card or two. You're going in there with a strategy of saying, hey, I am going to speak to someone about this specific topic, and I need to come out with a specific outcome in the end that you can take action on or you can follow up with, right? And then in turn, what are they going to walk away with? Are they going to follow up with you? Are they going to refer you to business? Are they going to do like FSC first and say, hey, here's some grant funds, or we're going to find some opportunities for you? What do you expect for them to do with your information once you have told them this? If you are doing panel discussion, if you're doing some sort of event or facilitating, you want the customers to feel like they have gained some value and benefits. And class, remember we talked about that value is the perceived notion of getting something for a specific value of something, whether that be money or maybe something intangible, like maybe some ideas and things like that. And benefits come after the fact they receive the value. What did they get out of it once they have taken part in it, right? So What are they walking away with? Because that goes two ways. That outcome has to be value and benefits for you, and it also has to be value and benefits for the other person, right? Okay, Michelle says, so as a speaker, what you and your aunt was saying, you have to impress and impact the audience. No, what we were saying is you have to be open and honest with yourself before you be open and honest with them, because they can feel when you're not being honest with them. They can sniff you out really really good. If you're coming off like you're not, if you're withholding information, they're going to feel that you're withholding information, and they're going to keep asking questions. And if you're not answering those questions, they're going to feel like you're evading them, right? So be open and honest with yourself, and be open and honest with your customers, right? All right, great. That's a great one, Michelle. Okay, so what will they remember? Now, that's another one. If people are walking away and they don't remember your name, or they don't remember what you said, or they walked away and can't remember a quote or something that really resonated with a lot of people and they just didn't get it, right? That means that your speech was probably like not clear enough, or you said something that wasn't relatable. Okay, it's either not clear or not relatable. So it's either one of the two. So you want to have these three things to reach your objective. You want to come out with an outcome, you want to walk away with something, and also your customer wants to walk away with something. And you also want to be memorable. What are you going to remember about that person? And what are they going to remember about you? Okay. Any questions on this one? Okay, nothing heard. All right, well, let's talk about the audience now. Okay, best practices. So remember, I said earlier that you need a signature speech. So find that one thing that you are best at. And if you need someone else who is also best at something else to collaborate for your events, or if you want to partner up and have something where you're kind of like, hey, we want to have these nice things and we want to talk about these good things, figure out what that signature speech is going to be. I have one that I wrote called Engineering to Excellence. Okay, I wrote that one. I did it for a class that graduated from some other school thing, and I really loved that speech, right? That was a signature speech. And then my second one was Empower Thyself. When I first came out in 2015, the very first thing I did was wrote that book and used that book to do workshops on how women can empower themselves to overcome the most heinous and most difficult challenges, especially when they're facing anxiety and depression, because that was some of the stuff that I was facing back in 2015. And so I wanted to reach out to women who was facing the same thing, and I wrote that book, and that's what kind of got me on the road to speaking. So having a signature speech is something that is great to have. It also helps you perfect that speech. It helps you build your persona that we talked about. It helps you give clarity and understanding in what you're talking about. It also allows you to get feedback because you can practice with your spouse or your loved one so they can hear what you're trying to say and get that honest feedback. And let me tell you guys, do not take it personal when somebody tells you that something's going on in your speech or they didn't understand. Just take it, write it down, figure out where in the speech that that you lost them, and then perfect and improve that area of your speech. Okay, don't take it personally. Don't get all upset and bent out of shape. That is a opportunity that you will not get in a real speaking situation. People are not going to walk up and tell you what you did wrong, but somebody who can, you use that to help strengthen your stability, right? Okay. You also want to research past events. Okay. A lot of people who get out there and start going to businesses, trying to collaborate with them, do not research their company. They don't take the time to find out what their community involvement is, what their mission, vision, and their mission, vision, and goals are. They don't research the leadership, right? They go to the website, but they don't look up the leadership. Who are you actually talking to? You have a company and you have a website, but there's people behind that website, right? So you have to look at potentially who you're actually going to talk to. That's where you need to go to LinkedIn, guys. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, you need to have one because you can look them up on LinkedIn, see the type of posts that they have, see the type of stuff or comments that they are posting so you can see what they believe in, right? And more importantly, try to get with the organizer of that organization, right? You got to get through the gatekeeper, which is most of the time the secretary or somebody who answered the phone, and then you get to the decision maker, whoever is doing the event or something like that. Great way to do that. And because you research them, you now have armed yourself with their, terminology, with their ideals, and you can use that in your introduction. Okay, so read the room, adjust your speech. Now, if you're in a room or you're in front of someone and you're talking with them, if you know how to read the audience, if you can read the person, you can adjust your speech, you can adjust your tone, your body language, you can adjust the attitude and just the whole, atmosphere and the environment, So just knowing how to shift and maneuver allows you to be flexible in your talking. Okay. Also, if you're able to get a gig, tailoring your speech to the theme, the event theme, right? Making sure that what you're talking about fits the atmosphere and the environment to where you're going to be doing. Because remember, you're trying to understand the audience. You know about the theme of the event. So that means that what you're talking about has to be relatable. It has to mean something so that people can see you as credible. And then tell a story when appropriate. There are times you can actually throw a story in there, but make sure that story is short. Don't make that story like super long, right? Think of a half a page, a paragraph. If you can tell the story within like a half a page, then that's a good time frame. Don't spend 2 or 3 minutes trying to get a story in to get people to understand the story. Or do the trick that, it's not really a trick, but it's more like a best practice that comedians use. They give you a little bit of the story and then they go into their whole spiel of the comedian and then they come back to the story and bring another piece in and then they go back to their comedy again and then they bring in the last point, which is the punchline, and bring the story all together. Okay, so that's another way you can do that. Also anticipate the reaction of the audience, right? If you see that the audience is sitting back and all of a sudden they're on their phone or they looking down writing or they talking to somebody, that means that whatever it is that you're talking about is not engaging them emotionally. Okay, you have to engage them emotionally and psychologically. You got to capture their attention, especially when you're talking to someone to introduce yourself to get business. You're going to hear me keep talking about that because introduction is your first really first impression to speaking to someone, to gauging your audience and practicing and perfecting your speeches in front of a single person. If you cannot keep that person's attention and wanting to engage in that conversation, how are you going to do that with a whole room full of people if you're, speaking in front of somebody, right? And then the other thing too, don't keep repeating the same thing. I've had speakers that would get on here and keep repeating, keep repeating, keep repeating, trying to say different things, meaning the same thing in different ways. My philosophy is that pie can get cut 1,000 times. It is still the same pie. Okay. So you can cut it 1,000 ways, but it's still the same apple pie no matter which way you cut it. So repeating the same thing only warrants if you're trying to make a point, and maybe repeating it the second time is good. But after that, don't give any more examples. It's too much. Okay. Making a connection with someone is also takes practice. It is something you really have to work towards. It is not an easy thing. Business acumen skills, soft skills, it's just really understanding how you can identify if somebody is sitting there happy. Just because you're smiling does not mean that you're happy. Doesn't mean you can perfectly sit there with a blanket face and be just as happy as you can be, right? Or you can be sad and still have the same blanket face. How you gauge these different attributes of emotions is really just by looking at the engagement. Are you engaging the audience? Are you asking them questions? Are you telling them something funny that will make them laugh? Are you, asking them to participate in an activity, right? Or allowing them to express their views and thoughts so that you can hear their voice and gauge if they're depressed, excited. You know, this is how you can kind of read the room. Anybody agree or disagree?
Agree. Agree.
Agree? Okay, excellent. Okay. So if you were speaking in front of someone, what is like to you the number one like attribute that you always notice from people based if you had to pick anything from this list right here? For me it's always been, uh I would say a little bit shy and lack of self-esteem for me. I think because they just nervous talking to me, but or something like that. What do you think? Okay, shy. Okay. We got shy. You can put it in the chat or you can just say it or whatever. Do you feel like
Shy.
people that
Excited.
Shy.
Shy,
excited, shy, mostly
lack
shy, huh?
self-esteem.
Okay, I heard excited. Okay, lack of self-esteem. Okay, I think I ran into a couple people that sounded a little bit depressed, but I think that's because they were more shy. They also could have been depressed, you know. But then you have to think about it. If somebody is shy and you're having a conversation with them, how would you be able to like get them to open up? Well, one of the project managers that came to an event one time kind of equated it to if you're shy, then your tone should be shy, but you find things that is interesting to them. So, for example, let's say that Tracy is shy. Okay, she's not really talking much. If you ask her a question, she's kind of short with the answer. And then I'll say, hey, I noticed that you have um, I'm gonna pick something like you have a flower on your desk that reminds me of my mom. She loves, fuchsia. She loves pink. I see that you love pink too. And then that might get Tracy to start opening up. And she might start saying, hey, yeah, it was my grandmother. It remind me of this and that and the other. And as she's talking, I'm going to see if I can find something else to get her to open up a little bit more. And then once she opens up a little bit more, then she will start smiling or she will reveal her true, emotion. And then whatever that emotion is, you stay on that level. You don't change, okay? Because if you change, they're going to go right back to whatever they are, okay? So you just kind of identify that. Some people just get to talking and don't even pay attention, don't even care how you're feeling, right? But understanding how your audience feels is very important. Okay. How do you land a gig? Okay. So the first thing I would say to do if you're trying to, improve your speaking on any level, right, is to use your phone or your PC camera or even get OBS because OBS is free. And all you have to do is hook it up, hook your camera up to it and your microphone, just like you see I have here. And there's a record button. You can actually record yourself. This is not in the cloud, it is not stored anywhere. It actually stores it right on your computer where you can see it yourself. And just record yourself just talking. Just pick up a piece of paper that has like a paragraph or whatever and just start speaking so that you can hear yourself. That's the number one thing you should do. Trying to improve upon your speaking without hearing yourself speak it's kind of counter. It's like putting the cart before the horse, right? You need to hear yourself say something, right? So that you can hear how you're pronouncing words. I know for me, I have like a country twang sometimes. I know I have a thick tongue on certain words. So sometimes it's hard for me to pronounce certain words. I don't know why it just is. And ever since I had the TIA, the mini stroke, I do have trouble pronouncing certain words, right? So, getting that program and just recording yourself and understanding how you are, your body language, your eye contact, your gesturing, your tone, your face expression. Are you sitting back? Are you swinging like I am doing? Understanding what area do you want to improve upon, and then getting feedback, honest feedback, okay, from somebody. You're just gonna just get there and record yourself without any kind of professionalism. Now, once you kind of understand what you want to perfect, you got places like Toastmasters, you have podcasts. I actually didn't do a Toastmasters because my time, the way they had the little groups going on throughout Maryland, they had it at weird times. I just couldn't join. So I decided to do the podcast route. So I started the podcast. And because I was able to listen to myself, I realized I was saying, I was saying all kinds of weird stuff. You notice I really don't say a lot of ums. Okay. I don't do I might do this where I kind of stutter a little bit, but That's because I'm being very, I would say lenient right now. I mean, I'm being very, if I was in front of an audience, you wouldn't even hear this. My brain will be like, don't you say no ums, don't you say no you knows. Okay. And I used to have this thing where I go like a little tick machine. I had to stop doing that, right? So, so in my videos and in my podcast, I learned where I need to eliminate those things. And then the next thing that's really great is just being on panel discussions. Listen to how people are talking, right? Listen how they do. Listen how they gesture. Watch how they kind of lean into the side. I mean, the ones that really get into it, they lean in and they get into it, right? And they are very confident. And next thing you know, all the questions just keep going to them. Okay. And you're trying to figure out when you going to talk because you got to break. This is when you got to break in and say, hey, I have a comment. See, this is how you have to break in. The confidence, I got a comment. I would like to comment on what. And then you call their name, what so and so said. And then you do your thing, right? And then what happens is you become a person in a position of power because now you done stepped up to the plate to be on the panel with the rest of the people. You see how that goes, right? So listening and watching and understanding how they are presenting, they have perfected their persona the moment that they get on the panel, right? Also, you got to dress to impress too. Don't come up in there dressing like you just rolled out of bed. Get up in there, do your hair, your makeup, dress to impress because you never know who's in that audience that's going to want you to come speak somewhere or even present something. Even if it's industry, maybe they just want you to talk about what you do. You're not even thinking about speaking, but they want you to talk about something, right? Right? I would say host an event, be a moderator, be a facilitator. That puts you right in front of the room. It might even be something like volunteering for a nonprofit and you're moderating some sort of event, even if it's kids. If you can just get in front of people, grab the microphone, get out there, start facilitating, start moderating, it will break and help, it will break that fear and it will help you build your stage presence, right? So get out there and do that. Of course, teach a class and also go for these institutions, right? These institutions, they're always looking for somebody to come in there and talk. I've actually got a post out there right now saying I'm looking for industry speakers. I'm looking for people to talk about how do you become whatever. Like Stephanie, how do you become tag and title? Come on, let's talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. Let's get out there and start talking and get that feedback. Like do surveys, do like face-to-face feedback. How did you feel about the speech, right? How did you feel when I talked about this? Okay. What do you think I need to do better? Um, where do you think I need to go next? Do you know anyone who's looking for a speaking opportunity, right? Get that survey and take all that stuff down and put it in your toolbox and everything. So that's what we have. Also, you want to practice good posture. You want to be poised very, very professionally. So try practicing your stance. There are some people who want to stand with the legs wide open. Ladies, don't do that. I don't care if you have on pants. Don't do that. Just stand very poised, be very professional, have good posture, even if you're sitting in a chair and you're presenting in a panel or even online, try to have good posture so that you're not slouching and things like that. Set the mood, right? You're the presenter, you're the introductor, okay? So you're introducing yourself. So you set the mood on how that person is going to receive you. So pay attention to your tone, pay attention to your body language. Um, Again, practice the no stutter, like type of thing. Okay. Know your speech story and tell it well. If you have to like practice your speech and um maybe get a teleprompter, that would also help. So if you have an iPad, I think it's called Teleprompter Pro or something. That's like an app, Teleprompter Pro or Procaster Pro. I have to get the names, but there are apps that you can get on your phone or you can get on your iPad or your computer. That will be a teleprompter that will help you with your timing, right? So timing is everything. Gesturing. Now, if you look like landing the plane, okay? Or you up here look like rerun, okay? You look like rerun doing your thing, okay? We can't have that either, right? So look, Do moderate hand gesturing. Moderate. Okay, that means moderate to little. Don't go too hard. Don't get the pointing. That's another thing that gets people. You start pointing to people, people get real offended when you start pointing. I don't know what it is about it, but it can literally distract them from listening to you. They will stop listening to you just to watch you move around. And by the time they leave, they will remember nothing that you said, because all they can remember is how much your arms were moving around. Or maybe you were walking too much back and forth. Maybe too much walking can do it too. I mean, I literally got dizzy watching people walk. I understand why they do it when it comes to comedy, because they're trying to give attention to all of the audience. But sometimes too much walking back and forth can kind of, make you kind of crazy. Also, having eye contact. This is the most difficult, okay? When you have fear on the stage or in front of people, you tend not to look. And be honest with you, stage fright makes you actually blur out the audience. You can't stop it. It's like when you have fear, but you know what you're talking, you know what you're talking about, and you're proficient at it, but you don't see the audience. It's because of that fear. But having eye contact, knowing that you're talking to someone, even though I don't see you in person and I'm looking dead in this camera, I'm looking at you, right? My eyes are on you. Okay, so have that engagement with people. With me, I can tell you, I've tried many a time. The last time I sang was at my aunt's funeral in 2024. And every time I sing, I don't see the audience. All I see is me and my God, and that's it. I don't see an audience. I don't see a face. I don't see a reaction. I don't see anything. Okay. I just sing the song and then I stop. And that's it. And then when it's all done, I got to stand in ovation. I don't even know how. I don't even know why. I just know that whatever it is that I'm doing, when I'm in front of people, when I'm speaking, I have to have eye contact. Because if I don't, it'll look like I'm trying to avoid, right? It look like I'm trying not to engage with them, right? And you have to have a smile every now and then to kind of keep that engagement, to kind of say, hey, this is what I mean. Even if it's negative, try to, have a little smile so that they know that you mean it with love, that you're not trying to say anything derogatory that would offend anyone, and use your words carefully. Okay. And just have fun, right? If you have fun doing it, you can't go wrong, right? You can't go wrong. Okay, so next one. I think we're almost at the end, guys. Okay, recap. Speaking in your business is a business, right? So treat yourself as a business. You are the first brand of your business, okay? So treat it as a business like you are right now. Create a brand that is relatable. You are the brand, your logo, your color choices, your perfected speech is relatable to the subject at hand. Don't deviate. Only talk about stuff that's off topic when you have an opportunity to engage with that customer or the audience in that topic so that you can keep the good conversation going, right? Be open to networking and business to business collaboration. This is a huge, huge win for you because it gives you free advertisement and exposure. Because you're being introduced to these people's network, because you're being open, you get to be in front of people you never thought you'd be in front of. Okay. You never know who is in that room that will have what you need, right? Also, speaking for free. Now, I get this off and on. Some people have a thing that they do not like speaking for free. For some, I don't know what it is. Yes, we all want to get paid when we speak. However, I would say that unless you are going for a top professional speaker type of thing, then you should use this as a tool to get in front of other audiences. That's free advertisement that you do not have to pay for. That is free referral services that you don't have to pay for. That's getting you opportunities to partner with organizations that can or may sponsor you for whatever. I use it all the time. I'm not a certified speaker. I do not get paid thousands of dollars to go out there and speak. I use speaking as a tool to further my agenda to get relationships with organizations such as the EDC, M&T Bank, University of Phoenix, Capital One, and so on and so on and so on. to help me get in front of entrepreneurs. That is why I use speaking. And I say that from understanding who I am as a person. And this is that line is drawn. I am not crossing it. Okay. So find that thing that you want to use speaking for. Be honest, be transparent, and be credible in every message that you do. So if you don't mean it, don't say it. If you're not going to do it, don't promise it. Okay. If you can't do it, just tell them straight up, listen, I'm not able to do it, but let me see if I can find somebody in my network who can offer solutions, right? And build those long lasting relationships. And again, have as much fun as you can because business is hard. Just operating and trying to get an appointment with somebody is really difficult. So just try to have fun in the process because if you don't have fun, you're going to feel burnt out, you're going to feel defeated, you're going to have some no's and you're going to have some yes, but that yes might be the yes that you need right now. Okay? So other than that, guys, that is the webinar for tonight. If you got questions, I'm an open book. Get me talking because I can't shut up. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the hand clap. All right.
I have a question actually.
Yes, ma'am.
So how long did it take you to like, I guess, memorize and your signature speech? How long did it take you to have it all together to
Oh,
present?
okay. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't memorize my signature speech. What I do is I use a teleprompter. And so when I'm speaking, I just let my natural spirit just speak it. Once you believe in what you're talking about, no matter what's on that teleprompter, it's really there to aid you and give you talking points so that you can like really express what you really want to say. If you just kind of just read off the paper, you're going to sound mechanical, right? You're going to sound mechanical. I've had people sit there and read off a page, and that's cool if that's their lane, right? If you do it well, it's going to be nice. But for me, I like to kind of write it out. I'll read it a couple of times. I'll see where I don't mean certain things and then make those adjustments. And then when I get out there and I have my little I either have my talking points on paper or I have a teleprompter that will help me get my talking points. And then, even before I even step up there, I am scanning a room like an X-ray girlfriend. I am scanning a room like the satellite. Boop, 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 boop. I am like checking them out. I am looking to see who's upset, who mad, who's talking, who's this, where the kids at, everything. I'm checking out the organizers, who's in the back, who's bringing the food, and how fast they moving. I'm looking. And then when I get out there, then I set the mood, right? I set the mood. When I tell them, you are engineered for excellence, instantly they're like, how? They're like, wait a minute, what's she talking about? And I'll get to going in there and I'll say, working on yourself or whatever it is that I'm talking about, being engineered for excellence, right? That's my signature speech. So maybe I'm talking about empowering yourself means empowering your ability to be whatever and whoever you want to be, right? I'm setting the mood. I'm getting you fired up, right? And then I go into that transformational type of thing. And then I just let my spirit take over. Because I just let the Lord tell me what I'm supposed to say to that person in the room. And then I go back to my little points. And then I come back and I do it some more. That's how I do. And I would say as far as timeline, I can't even say a month or a week. I just write it and just let my spirit just go with it. Because I just believe in what I say. And that's being honest, you know. That's me being honest to myself. Yeah. So that's a great question. I appreciate that. You had me
Thank you.
thinking there for a minute.
Thanks.
Let me see what else. Let me see. I'm trying to think anything else that might be helpful. Um let's see.
So you don't have the whole speech right now. You just have like bullet points to help you remember different things to talk about.
Oh, I have the entire speech written out.
Oh,
So
okay.
so what I do is I start out with writing the whole speech. And then I will read it out loud. Just generally read it out loud and make sure that it flows. Then I go back and then I look for aha moments or clarity of I wouldn't even call it a punchline. It's more of a climax, right? So I look for a climax. I try to treat it like a song where you start off with your intro of the song, and then you go into your lyric, and then you have what is called the hook, where they get into the actual song melody itself, or whatever the song melody is called, and then it comes back and hit a bridge, and then it hits that hook again that everybody loves, and then it goes back and has an ending. So I sort of treat it like that. I start off with a whole written, just unfiltered words, and then I say, okay, well, what am I trying to get out of this? What is the aha moment? What is the impact of this song? Barry Manilow said it best. He said, if you don't have a message or a story within the words, and you don't have a climax, you won't keep the engagement of the song very long. You won't have that it factor. You know, if you know Barry Manilow, he'll start off, with a song, and then all of a sudden he'll build up that climax and he'll hit another key and he's on a totally different climax. And all of a sudden he got strings and he got horns and he made it into this huge song in the end. And it's the same melody he started off in the first, but he has a climax. And so if you notice that when people have speeches, they start off generally sort of engaging you and drawing you into their conversation. And then they kind of hit a aha moment. And then they draw you in a little bit further. And then they hit a climax and make you go, I didn't think of that. Wow, that was powerful right there that they just said. And then they come back and they hit a bridge where they sort of tying in a story or something else that's unrelated. And then they bring it right back home with the big climax at the end. And all of a sudden, people are standing up and they're, oh man, that was fantastic. So that's the kind of speech that you see professional speakers do. But when you're doing your business, however, you're sort of going in a little bit more subtle. So you're going in sort of like the way that I would do it is I would say, thank you for taking the time meeting with me. I'm setting the stage. I'm like, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with me today. The purpose of my visit is to meet with you and talk about sponsorship opportunity to see if there's an opportunity for me to serve you and to help you with your clients. It is me serving you. And I would like to know more. I'm saying the word more because I'm letting them know that I've already researched their company. I want to know more about what initiatives you have that I can help you with. And then I'll let them talk. And whatever it is that they're talking about, the momentum is going. And then if they deviate off the conversation and they say something personal and I can relate to it, then I would deviate from the objective and go right to the related part of the conversation to build that connection between me and that person. If they start talking about, well, we're sort of working on this, but I had to take vacation because I had a death in the family. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I also had a death in the family. And I said, yeah, it was my uncle. He had Parkinson's. And next thing you know, we're talking. And now I'm connected with that person. I'm connected to them because now I found something that connects me to them. And then once we get past that conversation, we go back to the main point of the conversation. That's when they are getting open up. Said, well, right now we have a couple of opportunities that are about to come out. But what I can do is I can put you in touch with this person, that person, this person. Okay, well, how about we get on the calendar right now and set up an appointment? Okay. And that's when I follow up. And then I do the same thing with that person until I get my objective. Right. So that's how I use my speaking, right? To get more business. Right. Does that track?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you. That was helpful.
Yeah, yeah. So let me see what else. If I'm trying to land a sale, it's almost the same thing, but I do not like multi-level marketing questions. I hate those questions with a passion. Let me tell you. It's those questions where they go, Monica, you know this class is, very valuable to you. If I offer this class to you for 1850, do you think that's a reasonable amount of money to the why not? And then just keep asking you questions until you agree to a price and then try to hone in on that price. I don't do those type of predatory type of things. I hate that. I feel like that doing that forces the person to make a decision, which it probably is, but it comes off a bit negative, and then you'll never get a call back because they're going to feel like you're about to pounce on them any second, right? I let people make the decision on what they want based on what they see as a perceived value, which is what it's supposed to be. And then I share with them the benefits and then let them make the decision if they want to move forward, right? When you do that, you're sort of letting them have a tiny bit of control of saying, I will choose what's best for me. Thank you for giving me the value and the benefits. I'll think about it. And more likely, they'll end up coming back and say, you know what, I thought about what you said, and I really do need the help. Will you help me? And sometimes it works, and sometimes, depending on their situation or timing, it could be a timing issue, right? And that's why for me and my business specifically, I don't put a lot of timetables on people because starting a business is a very arduous, it's time consuming, and people have to generally want to do it. So I can't tell somebody, hey, you need to start this business and come into the cohort because you got to do it like right now. I would tell them that if the timetable's coming up, but I wouldn't push them to come into the class if they're not ready. Because the other mission for me is that if you're not ready, I don't want you to go out there and making mistakes trying to push you into a class when you know you're not ready. I know you're not ready. So it all depends on what your whole purpose is on why you're kind of going in there with that position. So set the mood. If it's a casual conversation, keep it casual. If it's professional, keep it professional, right? If you could connect with that person and find something that is in common with that person, they will remember you more. They would appreciate it more, and they would not be scared or hesitate to contact you and want to meet with you. Right? I have all these conversations on LinkedIn and email about meeting all these people, just simply having a general conversation with them and allowing them to communicate with me and share with me what they have so that we can find our middle ground. That's it. It's really that easy just to have the relationship. And then you nurture it by just providing an answer if you have the solution to their problem. And if you don't, refer them or just be their friend. Just be their friend, business friend. Don't have to be personal, it can be business. I have lots of business friends. Oh, Yvette, you asked a question. Oh, let me see. When will the cohort 3 start? So I'm trying to see if I can get it done in May. So what I could do, Yvette, is when I do the date for the Q&A, I'll pass that on again and see if we can get some people interested. If this other solicitation that I'm working on comes through, that will be another opportunity for people to join for free. The cohort 3 is not free. They will have to pay. And I do have a coupon for about 40% off, and I do have referral fees for people who sign up. So for anybody that sign up and pay to sign up, it's a $250 fee. So there you go. You're interested in the retreat? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Michelle, did you get the email with the dates? Because if not, I got to get your email so I can make sure that you get that. I want y'all to come and have fun. To have fun. Have fun. Okay, I'm gonna get if you want to put send me a private chat or I think I got your email from the past, I think. I have to look and see if I have your email address. Or you can send me a private chat. Or you can go to my website and just go to contact and just if you go to contact and put your information in, I'll have it. That might be better. Okay, so we got Blair. I see Blair's on here. Blair, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, Ann. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking, but yes, this was a great class. Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points. I would just say you definitely you definitely have to practice and
Yeah.
practice your speech and you have to. I remember when I'm retired military and I used to have to brief sometimes 2 to 3 times a week and I would get the bios of the senior leaders that I was briefing. So if you can, the
Mm,
more information you can get, if you can get biographies, even on the other speakers that you are speaking with, right? So you can
mhm,
get to know them and while you're mingling, right, and hear their story, kind of see what they're going to talk about, because you don't want to be talking
mhm.
about something that they're talking about
You're right.
when you have multiple speakers, and if you can. engage and do understand that yes, some people, I don't care what you do, they're just gonna, some people just can't get off their phones. And so you have to resist the urge to look at those people and let them, you have to get over that, right? Some people are just gonna, like me, I can listen and because I'm military, I'm forced to multitask, which is not sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. But you're just going to have those folks. They're just going to be looking at their phone, and then after your speech, they're going to be the ones that understood everything you said.
Hmm.
You're going to
You're
be
not
like, "Oh,
lying.
that
You're
person
not
was really
lying.
paying attention." So you have to keep that. You have to
Yeah.
keep that in mind, and don't let it trip you up because. It used to trip me up, and I would start getting frustrated, and then you lose where you're at in your speech and all that. The other thing I would say is have 3 or 4 takeaways, right?
Yes.
So no matter what you are saying, when you get to those takeaways that you really want people to understand, you got to have a hook, right? And maybe you just reiterate those themes that you want to take away because they're not going to, I mean, people attention span is very short. So you got to hit those themes and that you want them to walk away with. And then you say it at the beginning, say it maybe and at the end, right? This is
Yes.
what I want you to take away from this. And then that way you get them at the beginning. And then if they drift off on you, you hit them again at the end, right? And then, but yeah, very good, Ann.
Oh
And,
man,
I
that's
work
awesome, Blair. I
I
love
work
those
with
tips.
Ann. I see Ann in action every day. She motivated me to do this because I retired and I have income coming in and I hit this business thing, but now I'm re-energized. And it's good to see Ann's energy and see her in. I get to see her in both atmospheres, and it's very inspiring. And so I'm very proud of Ann,
Oh,
and
well,
I hope.
thank you. He loves
Yeah.
my professional persona. I
Yeah,
love
she is
that.
very professional.
Oh,
She chews
thanks,
my
Blair.
butt. I get the double whammy.
Well,
And be like,
I,
"What you
I,
up
I
here
try to
talking about?"
encourage Blair because he pushes me to be better, and so I push him too. So he's really good too. But I would also add to what Blair said is if you can come up with a attention grabber type of topic for your speech, that is really important. Attention grabber or something that you can tell someone or question. It could be a question. It could be a thought-provoking statement at the beginning of your speech that get people's attention. And it is kind of difficult because you're going to have people, like he said, is just going to be on their phone or they're going to be walking in and out or they're going to want to go talk to people and be talking while you're talking. You have to kind of overlook that stuff and pay attention to the ones who are actually looking at you, right? Don't even worry about it. You're going to have people who just cannot sit still no matter what is going on. They could be sitting all the way in the back and they could be having full-fledged conversations. Because believe it or not, business people are sitting there doing business while they're listening to you talk. No different than when people go to sports games. They might be in there looking at the sports, but they're talking business, right? So it all depends. You got to read the room. You got to read the room. But I hope this stuff really helped you guys to kind of think about how you're talking to people or even just yourself, just to improve from a business perspective because I'm telling you, the grants are still out here. They were kind of slowing down for a while, but now the grants are coming back, sponsorships are coming up. Summertime is coming, so there's a lot of nonprofit organizations trying to do spring, summer events. So if you can get on some of those, and also from the last webinar, get yourself a professional photo and work on your bio and work on your media kit because you're going to need that as you finish talking to people. You want to be able to say, here's my professional, bio, one-page bio. Here's my professional one sheet. In case you have an opportunity, please remember me, and do some follow-up. Do some follow-up. Don't let these people like go into the ether and be forgotten. People have told me, and you are persistent. You don't let nothing go by. I'm like, yeah, so Yvette, what I'll do is I think you're logged into my website, but on my website, I'm going to be posting these videos. So all these monthly videos will be on a special page for you guys to watch as much as your heart desire because you're a part of the class. So I appreciate y'all coming here and loving on me today and showing me that y'all like this stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all keep me motivated. You keep me inspired. So I appreciate that. So other than that, guys, I'm gonna give you the rest of your night. And I hope you guys have a good time. Y'all better do your homework or I'll be calling you. If you need help, let me know. Monica, me and Toya will be talking tomorrow. And then we're going to have a good time the rest of this week. Friday is my 27th anniversary, so don't call me on Friday. Okay? 27 years,
Congratulations! Wow,
27 whole
congratulations!
years with the same dude, y'all. Y'all know I'm in love. Y'all know I'm in love. So that's right. And I ain't having no babies. No, no, no more babies. No more babies. My babies are gone. That's right. My babies are out. That one called me up the other day. Ma, how you doing? Not you being here. That's how I'm doing. That's right. 26 and gone. I am happy in this world, okay? My son was so funny. When he was only 7, he came, and I'm gonna tell y'all the story and then I'm gonna get off. My son was 7. I was in an apartment. I think he had his house. And he came in the room and he saw a picture of me and Mike, right? One of these pictures of me and Mike back here. And he said, "You see that guy in that picture? That guy is happy in that picture. He is happy because he is in love with you." And he was only 7. He said, "Because this is your house, your bed, your floor, your TV, your everything." And he's happy. And I said, "If you don't get your butt out of my room, he is not going to be happy." Well, 20 minutes later, Mike comes home and my son and I go and open the door for him. And he said, "Hi, Dad. How you doing?" He said, "Get your little ass out this room and go on up there and clean your room up." And he said, "But I thought you was happy." He said, "I am happy. I'm happy that you're going in your room and cleaning up." So now that he's 26 years old, when we went to his apartment, we say, "You see this man right here in this apartment? You're happy in this apartment. This is your apartment, your kitchen, your bed, your floor, and we're leaving happy, okay?" So that's the story of the night of my son 26 years from now. Oh my goodness, he was so cool. But we're going to have fun, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed weekend, though. I'm going to turn the recording off, and hence, that is the lesson for today.